everybody. Today we've got with us our good friend Nathan Taylor. Nathan's a worship leader and an evangelist based out of Florida in the USA. And we've had a great time with him here at our church and seen him minister. And we thought it would be good if we just interviewed him, asked him a few questions, because he's got so much to impart for a young man. Yeah, so when we were worshipping yesterday Sunday morning, there was a real tangible sense of God's presence there, and that seemed to allow people to be very free to come forward with a word from God, and that really opened things up to lead into your ministry and praying for people. Mm-hmm. Is that a normal flow for you, or does it sometimes you just confined to one or the other?
Well, we confine one or the other in what way?
In terms of you've been told what to do in worship, or you've been told what to do in your preach, or do people generally let you have a free flow environment so that they can encounter God through you? I'd say
a lot of the times people do give you the freedom. People do. They're not really super controlling. But sometimes people that maybe don't want to come across controlling do have that kind of aspect about the way that they're, telling me the service flow is going to be. Yeah. And that's totally okay. But I've found that a lot of places I go to again, like the next time, there tends to be more freedom. Yeah. They'll give me less restrictions or less, confinements to stay in, and they kind of just let me kind of do whatever God's, putting on my heart for that time. But it does vary. It does vary a lot.
So you told me that some of the places you've worship led, there's very tight timings and you've got to stick to them, and there's a very tight format. How do you honour that when you're a naturally free flow person? Because I know you're a person who wants to honour the particular setting that you're in.
Right. Well, being that I grew up in the long hour, 2 hour, sets, I don't think that I'm biased towards them. I feel like I've been in both different kinds. I've been in worship services where the worship lasted 8.5 minutes, and that was all we had. And I've been in the ones where the worship service was like 2 hours, and it wasn't a special night. It was just, that's how the Sunday morning was. Yeah. And I've been in both, and I will tell you that I've encountered God in both, but I've had more encounters where I'm able to truly just hear from God and give my all to God in the longer sessions than I do the short ones. Not just maybe because I have more time to. Yeah. So I do prefer the other ones, but the house that's bringing me in, that I'm coming into, I want to partner with their vision and with their heart. I don't want to come and impose my own beliefs and my own doctrine and my own this or that, as long as it's based on the word, Yeah. But I don't want to impose how I lead worship just because it's me. If they say, hey, listen, we want to do worship in 20 minutes, we have 3 services today, and we need to get people in and out, it would be dishonoring for me to come in and say, well, God's, God only flows through me in 45-minute worship sets, and push those time restrictions, and all of a sudden people are coming in for the next service, but people still have it left from the first one, and now there's this problem and there's this dysfunction. We're not called to bring dysfunction in the church. We're called to bring freedom, and honor the house that we're in. So I try to do my best to, yes, allow the Holy Spirit to move, but also honor the authority that God put there. And when I was telling you about it earlier, I brought up how, like, David, in Saul, in the cave where David didn't kill Saul, David had the right to kill Saul. David was anointed to be king. David had everything backing him. He had the nation backing him. He had God backing him. He could have just done it. But while Saul was the commander, while Saul was still the king, David said, I'm honoring my king.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's so important we honour people, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
While you've been here, you've been writing some songs.
Yeah.
And you've got a new album that you're going to record live in England later on in the year.
Yep.
How does the inspiration for those songs come, and how do you develop them?
Well, I wrote most of them in this room, so I mean, it's a great view. It's just a nice little atmosphere in here. Inspiration for songs. Right now we're working on this album, and I need to write like 30 to 40 songs and narrow it down to like six or seven. And the reason why we're doing it that way is because we wanna truly get across the heart of our album. We have a specific core value for this album, and we want to abide by that heart that we feel God gave us for the album. So with writing for the heart in mind, we wanted to maybe say, if we wanted to write a song about love, about the love of God, we wanted to maybe write like 4 or 5 songs about the love of God. And if we wanted to write about God's holiness and, you know, giving him glory and worshiping him, we maybe like, you know, 7 of those songs. And you kind of write kind of what you wanted to say, and it kind of frees you up so that you don't have to feel like you wrote a perfect song about the love of God.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, I wrote a song about the love of God. All right, let's write another one. Let's change the key. Let's change the tempo. Let's say it differently, and just keep doing that. And then by the time you're done, you have these 5 options, and you pick and choose different parts maybe, you know, and you put them together. That's one way that I've been writing songs for this album, but some of the songs on this album come at the randomest times of day or in the middle of the night, and it's just a whole song, just done, just there it is. The whole like perfect song came in 3 minutes, and it's right there. No need to write another one. So between both ways of writing, we've come up with some good material so far. Hopefully people enjoy it.
Well, having heard some of them, I'm really looking forward to the recording.
Yeah, me too.
We're going to come across in our minibus.
Yes.
And bring a whole party of us, but only people who can sing, so I may not be coming.
Yeah.
I might get the driving duties.
Bring your voice.
Yeah.
There's never been a crowd. You've never heard a crowd out of tune?
Pardon?
I've never
heard a crowd out of tune.
Yeah, so there you go.
But I've never been in one.
No, that's not true.
So you have this little phrase, and I picked it up. In fact, I stole it from one of the chapters of the book I'm writing. But it's this phrase, love people always.
Right.
And I think, is that your Instagram name?
It's my Instagram name too, yeah.
Where did that come from, and what is it that you believe that carries?
Okay, well, that came from, simply it came from Matthew 22:37, and Jesus is asked what's the fundamental commandment of the law, and he says, love God with all your heart, soul, and strength, and then he added mind. He added the word for mind, and then he said the same as the second as the first, and that's to love one another the way you love yourself. But then Jesus changed the tone of that commandment in like John 13, and he said, a new commandment I give to you, and that being that you would love one another the way I loved you, and the world will know you're mine by your love. And so I started reading those verses about 2 years ago, and I started really encountering God's love just through reading the Word and putting the Word in. And I started realizing that this was all about God's love for us, and we're now His representatives. And so now I simply just get to represent His love for people. And you see it all over now. My eyes were kind of opened, and I saw, in Galatians 5:14, Paul says, you circumcision, uncircumcision, it doesn't avail you anything, but love one another. James says, if you abide by the royal commandment, loving one another, then you're doing well. In 2 John writes to us and he says, dear lady, I write to you nothing new, but what we've known since the beginning, and that being that we would love one another. And I kind of just got this tone of, wow, we're supposed to love one another, not just with humanistic love, but with the love of God empowering us to love people. But you can only get that from loving God with everything, and He gives you His love for people. So now I don't turn on and turn off when I love people. It's a constant. It's always love people.
That's awesome. How does that play out, that concept of love? How does it play out when you're leading people in worship?
So leading people in worship, it's a little bit different than just worshiping in my room or like in here when I'm songwriting. When I'm songwriting, I don't have to bring anybody into the presence of God with me. I don't have to bring anybody or engage with anybody and go as a community. Mm-hmm. I just get to go by myself, and I just get to immediately just detach from the world, just worship God and get lost in His presence. When I'm leading people with loving them, I want them to encounter God's presence, to encounter God's love, to know Him way more than I would rather myself in that moment, because I know I can maybe in a few days or later that night or any other time, I can get lost in God's presence in a bedroom, whatever. But in that moment that I have the privilege and the honor to really lead people in worship, I want to give them my very best. I want to give them all that I have. Maybe if that means losing my voice with them, then I'm going to lose my voice with them. That we all go together. That we truly, I don't want to be the worship team, guy who, says, you know what, you guys, you're not engaging, you're not worshiping with me. I'm just going to go by myself. Take the band and me, we're going to go, we're going to have a good time. I don't want to be that person. Right. It's all of us or nothing. And I feel like that's where that really comes into play with leading worship. We're all going to get to God's presence together, no matter what it costs.
Well, thank you, Nathan. Thank you for your time, and that was really spot on. I've learned a lot actually from that discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Right.